On February 1st, 1959, 9 Russian hikers on the trek of a lifetime through the Ural Mountains in Russia pitched a tent and settled in for the night at sundown. Hours later, all 9 hikers left the safety of their tents and died in a rush in the freezing, snowy conditions. Some in the party succumbed to hypothermia, but others were found with horrific, grisly injuries. This tragic event would become known as the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Before the rest of the episode, remember, if you enjoy Freaky What content, click the freaky liker button shaped like a hand. Subscribe to the channel and click the content alarm bell so you know when your favorite freaky content is uploaded. Okay, let's get back to it. Igor Dyatlov, a tinkerer and inventor, a devout wilderness and exploration fanatic, and a student at the Ural Polytechnic Institute, finishes writing his plan for a winter expedition that would showcase the boldness and energy of the new Soviet generation. His ambitious plan involved a thrilling 16-day cross-country ski trip through the Urals, a magnificent mountain range that stretched from western Russia to Siberia, separating Europe from Asia. Dyatlov submits his proposal for the expedition to the Sports Club and Ural Polytechnic Institute, and they readily approve it. The planned expedition would commence on January 25th. The goal was for the expedition team to reach the tiny village of Vizhai around February 12th and telegram the UPI Sports Club that the expedition group had safely arrived. With the trip scheduled and approved, Igor began planning and working out all the details. On January 25th, 1959, after months of preparation, 8 men and 2 women left for an incredible 14-day expedition to the Gora Atortan mountain north of the Ural Mountains. They arrived by train at the town of Ivdel for final preparations. The group of 10 highly experienced hikers consisted of 9 students and recent graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, and 1 last-minute addition, Semyon Zolotaryov, who at 37 was conspicuously older than the others. Every group member was a seasoned cross-country and downhill skier with extensive outdoor and hiking experience. The group was led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, who was fully prepared and excited for this incredible adventure. Every person in the group had received a Grade 2 climbing certification in the Soviet Union, and on their return, they were scheduled to receive their Grade 3 certification. Grade 3 was the highest certification possible at the time in the Soviet Union, and it required an excursion of at least 300 kilometers or 190 miles. This particular hiking route was classified a Category 3, the riskiest category, with temperatures falling as low as -30 Celsius or -22 Fahrenheit. January 27, 1959. Igor Dyatlov leads the group of 10 into the difficult, snowy terrain just north of the Ural Mountains in Russia. That evening, Yuri Yudin, one of the team, has a flare-up of his sciatica, and he makes the decision to head back. Before the morning, Igor Dyatlov tells Yuri that he suspects it may take longer than expected for the team to reach the destination. He mentions that the sports club is expecting a telegram around February 12th when they reach the village of Vizhai, but not to worry if it comes later. January 28th, 1959. Yuri Yudin heads back due to the medical condition, and the other 9 press on. Even though this was a challenging trip, the group enjoyed each other's company, taking photos and recording diary entries that spoke about their excitement for the adventure and what was to come. "I wonder what awaits us in this trip," one wrote. "What will we encounter?" January 31st, 1959. The group arrived at the edge of a highland area and began to prepare for climbing. In a wooded valley, they stored surplus food and equipment that would be used for the trip back, and left a bag on the route back to pick up in just a few days. The next day, the hikers started to move through the pass. They planned to get over the pass and make camp for the next night on the opposite side. However, weather conditions continue to worsen. Snowstorms are moving in and decreasing visibility. Without knowing, the group loses their direction and they deviate west toward the top of Kolatsiakl. When they realize their mistake, the group decides to set up camp there on the slope of the mountain, rather than move 1.5 kilometers downhill to a forested area that would have offered some shelter from the weather. They set up their tent and climb in to try and get some rest. February 12th, 1959. The sports club at Ural Polytechnic Institute keep an eye out for a telegram from the expedition group, letting them know that the team reached the village of Vizhai. However, nothing ever comes. Many days pass, and the sports club still doesn't receive any communication from the group, and now it has been several days since they were supposed to send word. Families of the group began placing frantic phone calls to the university and to the local bureau of the Communist Party, and on February 20th, they launched a search. On February 20th, several search parties began looking. Student volunteers from UPI, prison guards from the Ivdel camp, Mansi hunters, which is a group of indigenous people in that area, local police, and the military deployed planes and helicopters. Everyone was searching. They began heading toward the last known location of the expedition group to find tracks or any signs of life. Finally, on February 25th, 1959, the student volunteers discover ski tracks and begin following the tracks. The next day, they discovered the skiers' tent above the tree line on a remote mountain that Soviet officials referred to as Height 1079, and that the Mansi peoples called Kolatsiakl, or Dead Mountain. When they opened the tent, no one was inside. Inside were the hikers' boots, clothes, and maps, along with some food that was laid out, seemingly for a meal that they were preparing to eat. The side of the tent had been slashed open from the inside, a sign of just how desperate they'd been to get out quickly. The footprints told a chilling tale as they revealed that the group had left their tent barefoot. Nearby, by a tree where a campfire had once burned, lay the lifeless bodies of Yuri Doroshenko, 21, and Yuri Krivonishenko, 23. It appeared that they had succumbed to freezing temperatures, but peculiarly, they also displayed burn marks and multiple injuries. Further away in the snow lay Igor Dyatlov, 23, the group's leader, and Zenaida Kolmogorova, 22, both bruised and showing signs of attempting to make their way back to the tent before meeting their demise. Days later, the body of Rustin Slobodin, 23, was discovered. His skull was fractured. The remaining hikers were found in a ravine near a makeshift shelter they had tried to create in the snow. Nikolai Thibault-Brinal, 23, a graduate, had a crushed skull, while Alexander Kolovatov, 24, had a distorted neck and was missing his eyebrows. Semyon Zolotaryov, the oldest hiker, and Lyudmila Dubinina, 20, had severe chest injuries with multiple broken ribs. Strangely, both of them were without eyes, and Lyudmila's tongue was missing. A criminal investigation was conducted by a prosecutor named Lev Ivanov, but the conclusion was enigmatic. The official report stated that the hikers had succumbed to an overwhelming force that they were unable to overcome. There have been several theories about what happened to the group. None of them have been proven. The Mansi theory. Early on, it was theorized by Soviet authorities that the Dyatlov party may have been killed by the Mansi, an indigenous peoples of the region. Supposedly, the hikers may have been slaughtered by these indigenous peoples for straying onto their sacred land, or maybe it was a ritual. Even though this land is controlled by the Mansi people, no evidence has come forth to support this theory. The espionage theory. Two members of the Dyatlov group have been the focus of particular speculation in this theory. The question has been raised, why was Semyon Zolotaryov, a 37-year-old veteran of World War II, attached to this group of young students and graduates? Furthermore, is it significant that a few years earlier, Yuri Krivonishenko helped clear up a radioactive leak at a secret Soviet nuclear facility, an incident which has since been compared to the Chernobyl disaster? According to one theory, Zolotaryov and Krivonishenko and potentially a third hiker were working for the KGB and had joined the Dyatlov trek to rendezvous with CIA agents in the Ural Mountains. According to this theory, the Russians were supposed to hand over nuclear secrets and take photos of the American agents. The theory goes that the CIA men got wise to what was going on, leading to a fight breaking out and the eventual massacre of the Dyatlov party. This theory has not been proven. The UFO military weapons theory. In 1990, Lev Ivanov, the man who led the initial investigation into the incident, published a great article where he said he had been ordered to censor some of his key findings. One of his findings were the unusual char marks on the trees near where the bodies were found, which, in Ivanov's view, confirmed a source of heat, maybe a ray or other source that had been aimed at some of the helpless hikers on purpose. His article also stated that people had seen balls of light and other phenomena over the Ural Mountains in February. Ivanov doesn't mince his words. He said that Based on the evidence gathered, the role of UFOs in this tragedy was quite obvious. And depending on what you believe, UFOs could mean aliens or Soviet weapons that were top secret. The Yeti theory. This theory rests on some of the evidence. The first is a photo that was taken by one of the doomed hikers, which shows a dark humanoid figure creeping around by a tree. It can't be proven or disproven that this image is or isn't a Yeti or another creature, or maybe simply a blurry image of another hiker. The second piece of evidence pointed out by pro-Yeti theorists is a parody newspaper that the hikers wrote during the expedition, which had the line, "The Yeti lives in the northern Urals near Mount Otorten." While this was intended as a joke, other stories in the parody newspaper were actual accounts of things the hikers did. They were only exaggerated. This theory is actually a pretty popular one. The slab avalanche theory. This is the most widely accepted theory. The group fled the tent because of a slab avalanche, then succumbed to the harsh conditions. A slab avalanche is where a compacted block of snow slides down a slope when the underlying weaker snow layer gives way. According to this theory, several factors, including katabatic winds or mountain winds as they're called, and a weakening of the mountain snow during the pitching of the tent, led to the catastrophic avalanche. Apparently, once the avalanche started, the group slashed out of the tent in a panic, some of them severely injured by the impact, which would explain the broken ribs. The team members who were barely injured helped the others flee the supposed avalanche danger zone, only for the entire group to perish from the intense cold or their injuries. All 9 hikers could have escaped the crushed tent without serious injuries, which would explain why there were no tracks in the snow, suggesting people had been assisted or dragged. Afterwards, 2 perished due to the cold by the tree, 3 of them froze to death trying to get back to the tent, and 4 others died by the ravine. They could have been injured or killed in the process of building a snow shelter. The gruesome facial damage might have been caused by animals or decomposition. This theory is widely debated, and some parts still don't add up. However, it's probably the most believable explanation of what happened to the explorers that cold, terrifying night in 1959. No matter what you believe about the Dyatlov Pass Incident, this event goes down in history books as one of the biggest real-life mysteries that are still unsolved to this day. What do you believe happened at this incident? Let me know in the comments, and remember, if you like freaky content and crazy, scary stories, subscribe to our channel, like this video, and click the bell so you know when more content's coming. I'll see you soon.